What's up, everybody? This is Dan Thompson from O'ReillyAssociation.com, and this is the O'Reilly Association podcast, the Where Do We Go From Here edition. It's funny how things in the NBA just drastically change. As I was watching Jaren Jackson putting on a three-point performance in Summer League that I normally don't see from a guy that's 6'11", a guy who was a 40% three-point shooter in college, and was actually just launching threes in Summer League in a game against the Atlanta Hawks, which they ended up winning tonight. A story broke that has changed the landscape of basketball for the second time in literally less than 48 hours. Yesterday, last night, right around this time, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers, in a kind of an interesting move by LeBron James, his agents and everybody at Clutch Sports, released a press statement saying LeBron was headed to the Lakers. And at that point in time, the NBA has been on a roller coaster, which has proven to everybody that the NBA is the best off-season find you will find anywhere. Anything about NBA off-season is literally amazing. We've literally been through 48 hours of free agency, and guess what? The NBA landscape has changed, not once, not twice, but now a third time. Like I said, last night around this time, Los Angeles Lakers signed LeBron James, and then the comical efforts of the Lakers right after that in their moves, you sign LeBron James, and then you turn around and you sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a nice little defensive guy, also part of Clutch Sports, $12 million deal. You're thinking, okay, not bad. Then they sign Lance Stevenson, and you start scratching your head. Then they sign JaVale McGee. And you're looking at whatever device that you're on, computer, television screen, cell phone, talking to one of your buddies, social media. You're looking like, what is going on in Los Angeles? What is Magic Johnson doing? Then, this afternoon, they renounced the rights of Julius Randle to then sign Rajon Rondo. At this point, you're looking at what is going on in Los Angeles. Well, about 30 minutes ago, there's a story that broke, and the Golden State Warriors has basically ended NBA free agency. With guys in the market such as Julius Randle also then signed in New Orleans, we have guys like Zach LaVine, Jabari Parker, Clint Capella, among other guys that are still restricted free agents. The Golden State Warriors have effectively just ended the entire NBA season at this point. The Golden State Warriors have signed All-Star DeMarcus Cousins to a one-year, $5.3 million deal, which is basically the veterans minimum at the mid-level exception, the taxpayer exception. This has changed the entire landscape of the NBA as we know it. DeMarcus Cousins is the most dominant the most dominant big man in the entire league, and the one guy in the entire league the Golden State Warriors could not figure out how to guard, because no matter what they did, if they went into a game where even with Draymond Green being such a good defender, DeMarcus Cousins is a load down low and cannot be stopped. The Golden State Warriors just added the best big man in the entire league on a $5.3 million contract. In essence, they replaced JaVale McGee, as we all know, JaVale McGee, Mr. Shaq the Fool, or a.k.a. Mr. Space Cadet, who now drove down the coast down I-4, I think I-4, or the I-5 window down to Los Angeles, and replaced him with DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins, who was an All-Star last year, was having one of the best seasons ever by a big man before tearing his Achilles, is now going to Golden State. Now, I know, why is it all done? DeMarcus Cousins is coming off an injury that most big men, and I can't even name one, has come back and been the same player. And the Achilles injury is one of the most difficult injuries, if any injury, to come back from, no matter who you are. The Golden State Warriors have basically just put on notice to the rest of the league that the regular season does not matter. And at this point in time, most Achilles injuries take 12 months to come back on. Boogie tore the Achilles in January, so you should expect to see DeMarcus probably about February. The Warriors are at the point now where they can just put this thing on cruise control with Cousins and literally wait for this man to get completely healthy. Not even rushing him back now. Cousins wants to be back at some point in time, but they don't have to rush DeMarcus back till February. As long as he gets a couple of touches in between February and April, they're going to unleash Thanos on the entire Western Conference come playoff time. If Cousins is even 80% healthy, this season is completely over. The Warriors have the potential to literally go undefeated in the playoffs now. This is not even a joke. This is not even funny at this point. DeMarcus Cousins, at some point in time, as we all know, Cousins is, like I said, one of the best big men in the entire league. And really, honestly, at at his stage of his career, Cousins is literally a top 10 player. So the Golden State Warriors now have 3 of the top 10 players in the league when healthy, and they have 5 All-Stars, all under the age of 30. I know you're listening to this podcast and thinking, like, the Warriors once again have broke the system. They broke the system because Steph Curry, number one, outplayed the contract, and so they got MVP value from a guy making, $12 million a year. They had the ability not to have to worry about signing Steph Curry because he's under contract, then go out and sign Kevin Durant. Now they're able to get DeMarcus Cousins, who is coming off injury, but they have the time to basically let this man rest and get himself healthy for $5.3 million. So let's put this in perspective for a second. Rajon Rondo signed with the Lakers for $9 million today. Boogie is making $800,000 more than Lance Stevenson. At this point, DeMarcus Cousins is making 3 times less than the following players that I'm going to go over this list: Jan Mahimi, Evan Turner, Bismack Biyombo. Serge Ibaka makes 4 times more than he is. Timothy Mozgov, Alan Crabb, Tyler Johnson. I can keep. Chandler Parsons makes almost 5 times as much as DeMarcus Cousins. I can continue. Ryan Anderson makes over 3 times, close to 4 times more than Cousins. Miles Leonard makes about 2 times more than him. Anything named Plumlee makes 2 times more than him. I can go on and on about the number of guys that make more money than DeMarcus Cousins. I even think Boban Marjanovic of the LA Clippers make more money than DeMarcus Cousins. Let's let this sink in for a second. Let's look at all ramifications for everywhere. The Pelicans are now, they signed Julius Randle. They're not going to be back. They're not going to be as good. They were not going to be the sexy team they were last year. The Los Angeles Lakers missed out on DeMarcus Cousins for some strange reason. Don't know why. Maybe Boogie decided he wanted to take less money to go play for Golden State. Who knows? Lakers didn't get Cousins either. If you're John Wall, you must be throwing things right now because your best buddy just signed with the Golden State Warriors for $5.3 million. That same $5.3 million you're going to offer Dwight Howard, you could have called John Wall and done the same. Ernie Grunwell and the entire Wizards organization could have made that phone call for John Wall to play with his best friend in D.C. If you are, let's just go around the league. Guys who could have used centers at this point and really could have made an impact. You're telling me that the New Orleans, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who spent $6 million on Nerlens Noel at the time, I don't know, maybe Russ and PG could have said, "Hey, DeMarcus, do you want to pay for $5.3 million?" But let's be realistic here. DeMarcus Cousins took a $5.3 million deal because there was no money left in free agency. The Dallas Mavericks weren't going to make the offer. The Pelicans, I felt, they probably offered him way less than what he thought. I'm not sure what the Lakers offered him, and the market was drying up because everybody was spending all the money, and there really wasn't nothing there. Next summer, there's going to be so much more money because teams are going to have those contracts. A lot of the contracts that came off the books during the summer of spending come off the contract books. But in a day where Seth Curry just signed with the Portland Trailblazers, which is a nice key move for their bench. Like I said, we saw Julius Randle go to New Orleans, which I think is a solid move for New Orleans. It'd still be interesting to figure out how Randle's going to fit in with Anthony Davis and Mirotic because Davis really doesn't like playing center. And like I said, we're going into a night where Marvin Bagley III will make his debut for the Clippers tonight, Kings tonight, but in the simple case of DeMarcus Cousins playing across the league right now, the rich get richer, but at the same time, that just proves the fact of the Golden State Warriors have the best culture in the NBA because guys are willing to take seriously less money. Andre Iguodala's done it. Kevin Durant has basically signed 1-and-1s for the last couple of years because he wanted to be there. I mean, we're going to see what Klay Thompson does next summer, and Draymond Green said he doesn't have to have the maximum to stay. He just wants to win championships. The Warriors are the favorites to three-peat once again. All DeMarcus Cousins has to do is be more of a body than JaVale McGee and Zaza Pachulia combined. That's all he has to do. He has to be able to move. The Lakers right now, currently constructed, will not be more than a 5 or 6 seed in the West. Well, that ranking might get up because New Orleans is not the same team as they were last year, and the Rockets still haven't figured out what to do with Clint Capella. And I've heard the talks are not exactly pretty right now, to the point where Capella put an emoji up of the sad face. The Western Conference is wide open right now, but it's all wide opening to get to the buzzsaw of the Golden State Warriors. You might complain about the Warriors bench, and for good reason. The Warriors bench is not exactly deep, but at this point in time, the Warriors can go from the death lineup or the Hamptons 5 to now a lineup where they can just basically pound you down the middle with DeMarcus Cousins. As Steph Curry tweeted out earlier tonight, it's now the third splash brother, meaning DeMarcus Cousins. That means you're going to have all 5 guys on the floor who are over 35% three-point shooters. Cousins hit right around 35% this season, if not higher. Green, Durant, Thompson, Curry are all over. I think Green was at 37, 38, and I know the main 3 guys are over 40% from the three-point line, or Durant is close to it. The Warriors right now have basically constructed themselves to be the best team in the NBA, and it's nothing that we can't even stop about. They're already the 2-time champions. They won 3 of the last 4, and barring a meteor hitting Oakland, they're on pace to win their 4th title. I don't think there's nothing else anybody in the league can do, because at the point the Warriors don't have to rush DeMarcus Cousins, which makes this the perfect situation. Most guys who have Achilles injuries want to get back on the floor immediately, but in the case of DeMarcus Cousins and the Warriors are the defending champions. They don't need DeMarcus back until he's completely ready. And when he gets completely ready, this is going to be a wrap for the rest of the league. So, to recap what's just happened and trying to make sense of all this, the Golden State Warriors have signed DeMarcus Cousins to a 1-year, $5.3 million contract. This is really essentially a 1-year deal. There's no bird rights involved in it because it's a 1-year deal. He did sign for the mid-level exception, the exception that the Warriors had on their roster. So if you look at the Warriors, essentially they replaced JaVale McGee for DeMarcus Cousins. They still have the qualifying offer for Pat McCauley on the board. And the Warriors have basically just said the season's over. And technically at this point, as long as Cousins stays healthy, you can go ahead and simulate the season. Let's go ahead and get to the 2019-2020 offseason. And at that point, we can sit here and just talk about where Kawhi Leonard's going to go, because at this point, I'm not sure if there's anything in this league that's going to stop the Warriors once DeMarcus Cousins gets healthy. If he's 80% healthy, this Warriors team is going to obliterate the entire playoffs. The Warriors might not lose a game in the playoffs, because how can you physically guard the Warriors going forward? It was already hard enough guarding the Warriors when they ran the Hamptons 5, the death lineup, whatever you want to call it, with Iguodala and Durant. It's already hard enough to guard that because there's not enough shooting. So guess what? You now throw DeMarcus Cousins in there and let him just bully everybody around. He's already going to be irritated because he didn't get his money, and he wants to prove to the league that he's a max player because he should have got it, but he was going to get it before the Achilles injury. Well, now they've unleashed Thanos on the entire NBA, and that's what's about to happen. The Warriors have now acquired the 5th Infinity Stone, if you've seen the Avengers movie, and now the Golden State Thanoses have gotten all of the Power Stones. They're going to obliterate the entire NBA once they are healthy. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I know Lakers fans will not agree with this one, but most of the fans around the league are just looking like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? How can Tuesday top Sunday and Monday of NBA free agency? I'm not sure how the NBA can top the first 2 days of free agency, but I love to see how it happens. Check me out on Twitter at NBADT29, as well as RallyAssociation.com. It's still down due to maintenance. Like I said, I'm working on it to get the site back up and going. But yeah, follow the podcast here on iTunes, on Spreaker, on iHeartRadio. So, to recap, DeMarcus Cousins is now a member of the Golden State Warriors, and so let's figure out what we're going to do. Let's let the other 29 teams in the league try to figure out how to stop them. So, leave your comments below, and I'll be back on later on this week for another pod. This is Dan Thompson from Association. See you guys later. Peace.